If you don't see it on the inside, you won't see it on the outside. And there are some of you that have more information from God than what you are imagining. Your imagination, that word, like I said, is conception. That's what the word literally means. Your imagination is where you conceive things. Did you know you think in pictures, whether you know it or not. If I say dog, you don't see the letters D-O-G. You picture a dog. And each one of you have a different picture based probably on your own animal or something like that. And with words, I can change your picture. Some of you are thinking of a little tiny dog that's got their toenails painted in a bow in their hair and things like that. I could change it to talk about a big, mean, black dog. And I could use words and I could change your picture. But you think in pictures. If you can't picture it, you can't retain it. You use your imagination all of the time. You know, if I was to ask you, how many windows do you have in your bedroom? Most of you have never sat down and counted, but you could tell me. You know why? Because you can see it. You could picture it. You could sit there and count them. If I was to ask you how you get from here to the airport, you could say, well, you go out here and you go to this light on Powers and you turn. And you know how you're able to give those directions? Because you can see it. You can see it. You can't give directions without an imagination. You can't remember without an imagination. Your imagination is your womb. You were conceived. I'm not going to teach on this. I'll let Mark do this when he gets back. But the stork didn't bring you. You had to be conceived. Amen. And did you know that miracles, some of you are praying for a miracle, but have you ever seen yourself well? Have you ever seen yourself succeeding? Have you ever seen this? And many of you won't allow yourself to go there. You don't do that. Matter of fact, most adults think that this is childish. It's fantasy. Man, there is a fantasy that is unreal, but I'm talking about imagining godly things. You know, there was a woman, I heard on the tape, that she had real poor eyesight. She could barely see. Her glasses were like the bottom of a Coke bottle. She was legally blind without her glasses. And she had a healing evangelist coming to her church. And she didn't want to be prayed for because she'd been prayed for so many times and nothing ever happened. And so she didn't want to be disappointed again. So she avoided this guy. And finally, he cornered her. And he says, I want to pray for you. So she said, okay. And he made her take her glasses off. And then he prayed for her. And he says, now can you see? So she started to open her eyes. And he said, shut your eyes. And she shut her eyes like, what's he saying? He asked me if I could see. So then he asked the second time. He says, now can you see? So she started to open her eyes. And he said, shut your eyes. And she shut her eyes thinking, how am I going to tell if I can see if I don't open my eyes? Finally, the third time he says, now can you see? So she started to open her eyes again. And he said, shut your eyes. I didn't ask you if you could see with your physical eyes. Can you see yourself seeing? Can you see it in your heart? And finally, she understood what he was talking about, so she kept her eyes closed, and she just prayed in tongues for 5 or 10 minutes, and she says, I can see it. I can see myself well. And he says, now open your eyes. And she opened her eyes, and she was healed. And see, this is one of the mistakes that we often make. We just pray for a person, and then they open their eyes, or they feel, or they go to the doctor to check, and they are just looking in the natural realm, but they've never seen themselves well. There's some of you praying to be well, but you don't see yourself well. You dream sick. You talk sick. You think sick. And I'm telling you, you aren't going to have a virgin birth. You have to conceive it in your imagination. And just like a woman, when she first gets pregnant, did you know she doesn't even know she's pregnant? It takes a period of time before she realizes it. If you start doing these things, take the limits off God and say, God, I want to see your will come to pass in my life. For a period of time, you may not feel like anything's happening, but I can guarantee you, you are conceiving something.